How you living, Guardians? Unseen Inquisitor here. We are right around the corner from contest mode Crota's End. Pretty exciting. I want to go ahead and just do a video showcasing the main build setups that I want to bring into the raid specifically. I have a whole bunch of builds, but I have some main build setups I want to bring in, including some ringer, not so much ringer, but I guess you could say summon exotic armor pieces to splice in there if necessary, and then talk about some closing thoughts before the raid drops on some thoughts about that, like some of the stables and whatever else. So with that said, I encourage you to share your thoughts on my builds or my build concepts, since I'm not going to go in depth on the builds here, as well as share what you're bringing to the raid. I'm more curious on what you're going to be it a Titan, Warlock, or Hunter, and what builds you're bringing in to rock in this Crota's End raid and get some sweet loot. So share it all in the comment section down below. And I'll reflect back on this once the raid's completed, if I didn't say this already. If I did, I'm saying it again, to see how close to the mark I stayed with this setup. So right off the bat, we're looking at a Sunbracers build for the Warlock, Solar Warlock, with Radiance, your Incinerator Snap, and everything else. Big thing I want to say here about Solar is that, yes, Warlocks are relegated more so than running Will of Radiance. It's the best super in the game right now, and it's been for a while. It's the way the game is set up. That's how you judge things. But with that said, this is a very stout build for Solar, and there are multiple different Solar builds you can run if you're not a big fan of running Well of Radiance. But in a raid situation, that's the big thing that Warlocks do. So we're still running the Incinerator Snap because channeling your Inner Flame Alchemist is always great on Sunbracer, but you saw Phoenix Dive. I will not actually be running Phoenix Dive. I'll be running Healing Rift. What I do for raids is Healing Rift across the board. It doesn't matter what build I'm running. If I would normally run Phoenix Dive or an Empowering Rift in the raid, I do it as a Healing Rift for extra utility of safety in the raid for me and my fire team, right? With also that being said, for the rest of my Solar talk, I will be using Celestial Fire melee. Incinerator Snap is only for the Sunbracer exotic build. However, the rest of the Solar builds will be either Fusion or Solar Grenade. So it might matter for, well, it matters for one other exotic piece, but other than that, it doesn't really matter. I don't run Healing Grenade, so I run either Fusion or Solar Grenade. Those are the only two damage dealing grenades I tend to run as a Warlock, and the rest of the builds, except for one, will make use of either of them. It's okay to run Solar Grenade without Sunbracer. Anyway, prioritize Resilience. I prioritize grenade stuff and Super Generation if I can, and that's basically what we're looking at here in this Sunbracer build. I'll get to the weapons in a second, but this is my thought right now is Conditional Finality can definitely put in some work. Is it gonna be survivable work though, given the ad density and the contest mode situation? We'll see. Battler is a very good pulse rifle. I like my Demolitions Incandescent build that I have, so I keep it that way. And then I run a machine gun for most things because it's very efficient. This one has Incandescent. I think Incandescent can help with a bunch of the Thrall and whatnot we're gonna see. But obviously that changes potentially with other builds. Anyway, with that said, the other Solar build I'm going to be bringing in is a Verity's Brow build. Now this thing is ugly looking as all get out, but the Verity's Brow. But Death Throes is a very useful perk. This is a subclass neutral exotic, by the way. Meaning you just need to synergize. When I say synergize, you got to match your weapons with your subclass. You need synergistic weapons to get Death Throes happening more or less from the 4th magic, and that's just something to keep in mind. Hence why the weapons stay virtually the same. And again, more prioritizing Super Generation and grenades with Resilience and Recovery and Discipline. I have another build. This is more of what I call a, what's the word I'm looking for? Foundational build, because you'll see it's set up as stasis, but this is not meant to stay just as stasis. It can do stasis just fine, but I can also just swap subclass and swap weapons around. Here we'll put on something different just for the sake of it. And we have suddenly a solar Mantle of Battle Harmony. Now, Mantle of Battle Harmony does need mods on its chest piece. I just haven't got around to it. But it does require synergistic weapons again. You need to synergize your weapons to your subclass, but it's a subclass neutral exotic. The ability to generate your super a bit quicker from those synergistic kills, as well as once you have a full super, those kills giving those synergized weapons a bit of a damage boost for a short period of time, is, I think, going to be pretty handy in this raid. So that's why I have this set up on standby as well. To that end, I have exotics I could sub in. I mean, I could sub in Eye of Another World. I won't. I could sub in Necrotic Grip with an Striga for anything if I needed to. But really what I'm thinking about subbing in is Starfire Protocol is still a worthwhile exotic for the extra fusion grenade. This one will require fusion grenade. But the rest, like I said, solar or fusion, except for Sunbracer, right? Phoenix Protocol, any grenade. Getting up to half your super bag is no joke, right? I believe it's still up to half. It's still a great chunk. Plus, remember, you're in a raid. 5 other Guardians. Orbs being made probably in this raid in particular. Pretty pretty frequently. The ability to get your super back with Phoenix Protocol on is definitely a nice thing to keep in mind and make use of. Sanguine Alchemy, which I don't have in here, the ability to extend a rift with kills, and again using those synergized weapons to get some extra damage on those weapons in that rift, can also be very nice in this raid. So that's something else I have on standby. But it's not all about solar for a Warlock. Obviously, that's in a perfect scenario, I will probably stay solo the entire raid. But if there's a need to experiment, or with whatever they do to the encounters that, whatever it might be, it just isn't working out that the well is that beneficial for us, I'm going to bring my go-to way I play Warlock into the raid, which is Voidwalker Warlock. Devour is very strong. The build I have set up is volatile rounds, again with resilience and recovery being my important stats for me. But volatile rounds are very nice in this build setup from the grenade kills and everything. That's going to help with anti-barrier if we do have a champion, a barrier champion in this raid, and instead of unstoppable, who knows what we're going to see. And typical mod setup. Like I said, I'm not going in depth here. But I could go crazy and bring in my Nothing Manacles build of the same concept, only it uses Scatter Grenade, and therefore I don't need to charge up my grenade, and I can run the little Void Soul thing. And I can make use of Verity's Brow. I can make use of, where is it? I can make use of Verity's Brow. I can make use of the Necrotic Grip, yeah sure. I can make use of Mantle of Battle Harmony and that Sanguine Alchemy in this build as well. Those are all subclass neutral, weapons synergized, good to go. That's why I think Hardline's going to put in a lot of work for me potentially in this raid. We'll have to see. But before I dive into being a Voidwalker when I experiment off of Solar if I need to, I will be experimenting with Stasis. Stasis is such a powerful thing for Warlocks. People sleep on Stasis too much. Osmiomancy Stasis Warlocks are pretty ridiculous, and I really enjoy this build. It prioritizes recovery and resilience, as is pretty normal. The grenades aren't really about doing damage. The grenades instead are about getting the enemy's crowd controlled, more or less, frozen and shattering and all that. So this has great ability of crowd control. This can put in a lot of work, I feel, in this raid as an action-oriented raid. And Agriceptor or Conditional Finality will be fantastic primary weapons for it. And again, I run a machine gun. I tend to run machine guns. So those are the builds. And with Stasis, I will only be using Osmiomancy in here, this raid. So those are the builds. In terms of weapons, I mentioned things like Risk Runner and Borealis. I have those on standby in the vault. As far as stuff that I need, we might need Unstoppable. So I have Vex Mythoclast, I have a Humjury. We might need Barrier. I have an auto rifle. Several, so that can work that way. They're disabling some stuff, right? A little unfortunate. I thought for sure that the Banner of War would have stayed up. I'm kind of surprised and kind of not, considering how good it is that it's being disabled for contest mode. They're disabling the new fusion for pre-ordering because it has some unintended interactions, I think with Arc or something like that. I forget exactly. But it is quite good, so I understand why they might want to do that. And there's some other things they're disabling. Par for the course. Nothing too dramatic in my opinion. Nothing that's going to impact the way I play my Warlock, to be sure. So, with that said, those are my builds. My thought process is just to stay alive, stay on solar. I'm going to use Sunbracer right off the bat. What will make me really consider doing something different in solar is how effective I am at proccing Sunbracers with my Flame Alchemist Snap, right? The Incinerator Snap. If it's not working out well enough for me, then I'll use a different solar build with Celestial Fire and whatever it might be and go from there. So that's kind of my thought process. And for that, when I sub off of solar, I don't know. I think that'll become a fire team kind of thought if we're really struggling somewhere. If I even need to come off of solar. You never know. Anyways, with that said, look forward to having some fun. Good luck with the raid. Share your builds you're taking going in. Share how you're going to be set up. And I'll do a follow-up to this post-raid to see how close to this I stuck. Or did I end up arc all of it? You never know. So, anyways, just make sure you have some champion stunning capability. Keep your communications clear. Use your gamer tag when you communicate to make it easier so they know where a rift or a well or a bubble or whatever it might be. And good luck. So until next time, Guardians, stay frosty.